Okay, good morning, everybody. We're just going to allow a moment right before we get started to let people start coming in. I'll give it just a couple more seconds. Thank you for joining, everyone. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. On behalf of FIU's Center for International Business Education and Research, or CYBER, and the Pinot Global Entrepreneurship Center at FIU Business, we thank you. We're delighted to have you on board as we discuss ways to create a global community through experiential learning. My name is, first I'll introduce myself, and then I'll be honored to introduce our speakers for the day. My name is Jillian Avendano, and I'm the program director, again, at FIU's Cyber Center. And we are one of 15 cybers, which run thanks to a great grant from the US Department of Education. Our goal is to promote US competitiveness in international business. We do so in a number of different ways, one of which is through our Cyber International Business Speaker Series, such as the one we have today. So without further ado, I'd like to present our distinguished speakers. Joining us from Bangkok, Thailand, we have Mr. Deepak Ori. Mr. Ori is the CEO of Le Bois Hotels. So he's well known worldwide as an award-winning entrepreneur who has transformed the luxury hospitality landscape in Asia. He is an expert in experiential hospitality. And today he's going to share with us his knowledge and perspective on experiential learning. He's also the executive in residence in entrepreneurship and innovation at the Pinot Global Entrepreneurship Center here at FIU. And he is the executive chair of the Pinot Global Executive Board. We're honored to have him as a member of our Cyber Advisory Board. He's on the advisory board of World Happiness Foundation. He's the chief happiness officer at Le Bois Hotels and Resorts, and he's the president at Maison Happiness. And he's a very busy guy, as you can tell. Also, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Sumit Kundu, who is our he works with us here at FIU, but he's also joining us from India. So we have some people coming in from all over, which is very exciting. He's a professor here in international business. He's a James K. Batten Eminent Scholar Chair in International Business. He's the Associate Dean of International Programs. And in the next grant cycle, he will soon be the Faculty Director for the Cyber Program here at FIU. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Anna Petrazik, who will help us with the question and answers at the end. She's the Director of Global Operations and Recruitment at the College of Business. She's a faculty fellow in entrepreneurship and innovation at the Pinot Entrepreneurship Center. She's the faculty director of the Professional MBA in Sports Management program with Real Madrid Graduate School. And she's an assistant teaching professor in the Department of Marketing and Logistics. And with all of that being said, I'd like to pass it along to Dr. Sumit Kundu. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you very much. Good evening and greetings from India. It's great seeing you, my distinguished colleagues, Dr. Anna Petrazik, as well as my good friend and distinguished colleague, Mr. Deepak Ori. What a pleasure. This is incredible times. We are living in times which are rapidly changing for the better. And having said that, FIU Business, as you know, is a very young entrepreneurial university. And we at FIU Business, we are always trying to push our students to do better. And one of the things which we have taken a lot of effort and pride is to give them a real learning. Learning doesn't mean just they come to the university, take classes, and get a degree. They are in a business school setting. They have to learn and apply. It's about applied learning. And that is the fun part. So what distinguishes the College of Business from other colleges is that whatever we learn today can be applied tomorrow morning when you go to work. This is the fundamental motto of our business school. Having said that, I have been in FI for 20 years, and I have been involved with a large number of programs. I was formerly the faculty director of the Executive MBA program, the faculty director of the Masters in Advanced program, and so on and so forth. So I truly value experiential learning. What exactly is experiential learning? Well, simple way of defining is learning by doing, hands-on learning. So you have to basically, learn the material from your professors, from your peers, and take that knowledge and use that knowledge. Yes, certainly, use that knowledge. So that makes, really fun for all of us. Now we are living in very uncertain times, and as you have known that the last 2 years, the world has changed profoundly. But learning has never stopped, and learning will never stop. It's more so real learning. So I think, this webinar, which it's conceived and thought of, was to basically revisit that issue that learning has an important and integral part in our curriculum. Now, I teach international business and global strategy at the master's level. And of course, I do use, a large number of things. But at the end of the day, I ask a question, what am I teaching? What type of knowledge, what type of skill sets do I want my students who are managers of companies to possess? Because of course, at the end of the day, they have to be a good decision maker. And it is not about marketing, it's not about logistics, it's not about supply chain or finance or accounting or strategy. It is encompassed, embedded in everything. It's a holistic way of learning. So over the years, of course, I have used and relied heavily on case studies. Case studies from Harvard Business School, from NCR, from IMD, from Thunderbird, from Western Ontario, a variety of sources. Because I value them. Because these are real companies, real problems. And of course, then the question comes is that what else can we do? Of course, I don't use simulations, but some of my friends and colleagues do use simulations. Another nice way to learn. Then there's, of course, applied research projects, which can be used, which I do use in my class, which I teach in the master's program. And then, of course, we have incubators, which is a fascinating place to learn and experiment. We are an entrepreneurial institution. The Pino Center for Global Entrepreneurship is a hallmark of this university. So there's ample opportunity to learn and take your ideas and commercialize them into the real world. And of course, I am also in charge of the Office of Global Initiatives, which is heavily engaged in study abroad and internships. And both these elements, study abroad internships, are integral part to our students' success. At the end of the day, I've always believed, why are we here? We are here to serve our students. If they are successful, we are successful. So FIU has come a long way. It has come a long way in this 50 plus years, but we are still innovating. We are still learning. And so experiential learning is a very important aspect. Let me talk a little bit about the concept of bridge, because I talked about what we're teaching in the classroom can be applied in the real world setting. So in many ways, there's a bridge between theory and practice. Okay, so as academics, we are always writing about research, creating knowledge, research papers published in top tier journals. But the question then becomes, can we use this knowledge in the real world? That is the ultimate test. And if we are able to do so, then it has much more meaning. Okay, it is more impactful. Now, one thing which I emphasized, is the issue of intangibles. Let me explain what is intangibles. So you have two parts. One is a tangible element, one is the intangible element. Tangible is something which can be measured, very objective, outcome-based. Intangible, it's more difficult to measure. Such as what? Such as soft skills, such as negotiations, such as cross-cultural issues. And these are very important elements of one's learning because we live in a globalized world. So if you are going to do business in Thailand, our American managers, American students need to understand what do they need to learn to be successful in a foreign country. And of course, we teach our students to do in Rome as Romans do. So I could argue this, certainly, so if you're in Italy, you have to learn the way how Italians operate. If you're in Thailand, you have to understand how Thai people operate, and so on and so forth. So in that context, the issues of time orientation, space, religion, language becomes very important. But at the end of the day, I've always believed leadership. Does leadership matter? Yes, it does, at all levels. Because the leader sets the tone for the organization. So today we have an outstanding leader in the way of Mr. Deepak Ori, and his success in his industry, and he will talk about his experience. But as an academic, I can tell you this much, that yes, anybody who is a good leader will generate confidence, will be a pioneer, will be a visionary, will be entrepreneurial, and is willing to take risks. You have to take risks. You have to challenge the conventional wisdom. So I think, when I talk about experiential learning, yes, you are getting outside the comfort zone. You're going to a foreign country, you're going to a different industry, and so forth, and you're able to learn and get a lot of from the experience. So I think it is important for us to keep on trying to help our students to get that experience, whether through study abroad, whether through case studies, simulation, applied research projects, incubators, and very important internships. So I think, we are off to a good start, something which business schools have to further develop and improve upon themselves, because experiential learning is an integral part of our curriculum. Because at the end of the day, the students who go out to the real world and start working, if they have experience and if they have learned something which is valuable, that will come from outside the classroom. So on that note, let me introduce this evening or this morning, afternoon, wherever you are, our distinguished, executive in residence at the Pino Center for Global Entrepreneurship, Mr. Deepak Ori, who has been very kind to us. He has shared his experiences, and the floor belongs to him, and he will give you his perspective on experiential learning. Deepak.
Thank you, Dr. Kundo. It's an honor to speak after you. So you will, it's a great, I think it's the second time I'm meeting you, and always learn a lot, whether we meet socially or right now in a formal manner. And Jillian, it's so nice to meet you first time in a virtual world. And Dr. Anna, thank you so much. So it's a great partnership between cyber. I have a lot of respect for cyber because cyber, there are 50 cyber centers, and the reason they have been made so that the experiential learning goes all over the world, and the world, which is actually becoming smaller, actually becomes smaller. I'm going to touch on few issues because I'm not an academic. I come from a very different point of view. I look at the world in a very different manner. I work with a lot of people, and we work with a lot of customers also. So just to give an idea where we're coming from, pre-COVID, we would be dealing with 2,400 customers on a daily basis with more than 80 different nationalities. Now, how do you look after them and bring a level of consistency that they all have a great experience, where they're coming from a different society, different social attributes, and different culture? And that is where creating a global community through experiential learning that is coming. But before going that, everything has a history. And there are two ways of understanding the history. One is sitting on the chair, another is making the history and getting up from the chair. So today I'm going to do both. That sitting on the chair, I've done in the past and will do it in the future, getting up from the chair and creating the history where the future will learn from, that how the experiential learning can make the world or a community a better community to live and flourish. The experiential learning has been there for ages, not even decades, it's been ages. And when we came to the modern world, the experiential learning was that we do experiential learning to create a globalization. And what is globalization? Globalization is society. Globalization is social attitude. Globalization is understanding the culture. Then we said we have to prepare the students so they create a career in business. Then the experiential learning became more well-defined. And then we said, let's prepare the students for creating a business in a globalized world. Today, we don't need to prepare any students for anything. The world has been divided. If we ask anybody from technology, they will say the world is small. 63% people are on social media. But who are we to decide for the rest of the 37% whom we cannot reach? At the same time, only 38% people in the world have traveled overseas. 62% haven't. So 62% people lack all over the world the understanding of the culture, understanding of the social attitudes, attributes, and they have no idea. 37% people are disconnected from the world because they are not on internet, they are not on social media. Maybe some of these 37% people are the people who have not traveled. So meaning we have 37% people in this world, which is 2022 population is 8 billion, who doesn't even understand what is globalization. Then we have another thing. In a world of natural intelligence, we have created the artificial intelligence. And certainly in a world where the artificial food was being served, we started talking about natural food, farm to table, that we have to serve the natural food to the people. At one side, the technology companies are prospering with the use of artificial intelligence. At the other side, we are talking we have to go natural. So sometimes, unlike polls, they create wonders, but there is an inconsistency that is happening. Also, 37% people, which I'm repeating again, are not connected on a social media. So what do we do? How do we create a global community through experiential learning? And I'm not trying to flatter. I think Dr. Kundu, under your initiative at the Cyber, it is doing a great job, because we are working along with Jillian on the initiative in September, where the team of professors will come and immerse themselves in one particular country culture and bring it back to US and spread that word. So those people who are not connected and who are not traveling overseas get to see that. But where does it leave the experiential learning? Why do we need experiential learning? Because we are people who may have not done our formal studies, but we are every day creating an experience for our customers, for our people, for our stakeholders. So where do we fit into this education system? And what are we looking at? Because at the end of the day, this is where the students are going to come. And what do we look for students, and what do universities try to train the students, is that bridge that is not too far, and we have to connect that bridge. And actually, by the way, that is the title of my book also, A Bridge Not Too Far, which talks about these things, and I'll touch upon that later. So today, we are not looking for students to have a career in the globalized world. Everybody can make their own career. Today, we are looking through experiential learning and through community, a thought process. We are telling them to create a thought which can create and make dreams into reality, a singular thought that can combine everyone together. And how do we create this thought process in this world where it is small yet too big? So when I got this topic, I went to Wikipedia, and they said, go to zoo and look at the animals, and that would be the experiential learning. So I was talking to one of the professors, and I wanted to give that example, and that professor told me, don't give that example. But when I read that on a Wikipedia about the zoo, so I think I should come up with this example. If in today's world, we have to see what a real experiential learning is, we should all take an expedition to Antarctica. That is where we see a lot of natural things. We see a lot of diversity. We see a lot of natural resources. And what we see, which what Dean Hardin at the FIU School of Business also say, is silence. And that silence is a new luxury. Now, what do experiential learning, why do we have to go for experiential learning? Even case studies at some point of time cannot be an experiential learning because it takes 1 year to 1.5 years to prepare a case. And many a times in this fast changing world, things change quite rapidly. So how do we, what are we telling students, and why do companies are looking for people who have experiential learning? What are they looking for? Now, if we look at the latest admission things at the top schools, they say extraordinary is not enough. They're looking at people who wants to or who have made themselves into a brand. And why do so early in life? Every student has to create a brand of his own. It's a thought process. And how do we create this thought process? What do we need to do as leaders or as professors or as the guardian of the future generation? What do? We bring them to the reality. And that is what the experiential learning is. And I'll give a very recent example. But before that I give an example, I want to give another example, which is a fiction. There's a new movie that has been released, and I'm not advertising this movie. It's already made $300 million worldwide, Top Gun Maverick. Okay, and this Top Gun Maverick, they get this pilot, Tom Cruise, and he said he can do it. The Top Gun pilots are sitting there, and he's telling them this can be done in this much of time. Now they have to do some exercise which requires even a second counts a lot. The professor said, forget him, let's do this in 4 minutes. And suddenly we see in a movie that Tom Cruise is on his aircraft and is going through, and he finished that in 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That is experiential learning. That is, we lead from the front and students follow. Students become passive. They learn, they see, and they immerse themselves. And we did that at the FIU Business very recently with Luxury Incubator. We took a team of students, 18 students. We did very well. And the best thing was, at the end of the thing, everybody became emotional. And they became emotional not because we are saying bye to them or their holiday is over. They became emotional because they were able to see the world. They were able to think through all the 7 days of that exercise and see a world with new eyes. They never knew that something like that existed. It opened their horizon. It opened their mind. And I can tell you these 18 students are going to do wonders. Some will do now, some will do later, but they're all going to do wonders because what has happened is their thought process has started working. Now, this course was not done overnight. I think not many people know, only 2 or 3 people know that during COVID, I had created a ORI Luxury Index. And this ORI Luxury Index, ORI is my family name, ORI Luxury Index was done to combine tangible and intangible. Now, I'll give you an example how. And we have tested it 2 times already. Third time, I'm looking to test it in 3 different continents with 5 different brands. So we see whether it stays consistent or not. So what is this ORI Luxury Index? So we talk about habits and cultural thing. And we will talk not international, we'll talk within East Coast and West Coast. A particular brand in East Coast, people don't buy because that is what the students told us when they went to do their research, that they don't like the logo to be in the brass. But on the West Coast, people prefer that the logo has to be in brass. So what should brand do? So the brand is doing that, they remove the logo, but both the purses are at the same price. Now, when we put this data and few other data into the ORI Luxury Index, it tells us that the brand, same brand, by removing those gold buckle, embossing the brand name into that purse can be sold $2,000 expensive and will have more buyers. Now they are selling, but just imagine for that brand, if they use Ori Luxury Index per purse, they are making $2,000 extra and 20% extra customers coming to them. So see the opportunity loss. This is where the experiential learning comes. This is what the experiential learning should do to the community. The second thing is, which is a very old example. When Louis Vuitton went to Japan, they opened their first store, they got 90% reject. Meaning 90% of their merchandise was getting rejected. And they didn't realize what has happened to them, because in US and Europe, nobody had rejected. Louis Vuitton is Louis Vuitton, right? And then they realized that culturally people, if even a small thread is coming out, they don't like it. They will reject it. So then they put the quality department, more specific, everything worldwide. But then this is also an experiential learning because the culture is different. The people's social habits, attributes are very, very different. And now how do we go about and tell the world that let's make it smaller? The US has taken a lead by creating 15 cyber centers. I think the way I see forward as a director of the cyber center and also the director of the Pinot Entrepreneurship Center is that if other countries' Department of Education is not able to do it, I think we should propose executive education, because we have experience. I've seen that at the FIU is a very experienced faculty. And Dr. Kundu is right that a lot has been given towards the experience. I've worked with Dr. Anna, who only believes in experience. And in her own words, she says, I don't believe in textbooks. I believe in real life and real teachings. Okay. So I think the Cyber Center needs to take that lead and bring professors from different institutes rather than students to take executive education at the Cyber Center and Pinot Entrepreneurship Center and spread that word outside. So I was writing a book. Now this is, when you give a long speech, there's always a commercial everywhere. So this is that 2 to 3 minutes commercial that I'm coming. So I was writing a book and everybody told me, I started writing the book in December 2020, and everybody told me that my book will not be, I may not be able to complete the book. Book may not be successful. I don't know whether the book will be successful or not. But right now it is doing quite well as a pre-order. So what is so special about this book? Of course, I have written for every person who is personally and emotionally involved, it is special, at least for that person. But besides that, this book gives the definition of many things. This book tells what's the difference between a rule-based and a principle-based organization. This book tells the reality of life. This book tells how do you attain happiness in your life. And many a times we confuse ourselves in a real world that happiness is joy. You know who's the biggest enemy of happiness? Joy. Because joy is momentary. And that momentary thing that distract us and put us on a different path away from happiness is what joy does. Then people say, oh, yoga is a great thing. Yoga is a great way to exercise and freshen your brain. But yoga is not which is going to take you to the happiness. Every person is composed of something. My journey in my life is for self-respect. All this while, I didn't compromise self-respect at all. That is my journey, and that gives me happiness. So it is different for everybody. And what experiential learning does is that it tells people to look inside and bring them to realize who they are, and then they come out. That is the power of experiential learning. And when you tell people who they are, and when they admit who they are, what you do is you create a global community of people who are responsible, who are respondent, and who will do anything to create a better future, not for themselves, but for the world. I am actually very pleased that I'm honored that I've been given that chance at Cyber. I'm very happy that I am at the Entrepreneurship Center, and that's what my passion is, to bring. So for me, normally people introduce me, even today, no offense, that I have a lot of experience in hospitality. I think I don't have too much experience in hospitality, but I have a lot of experience in life. Because I have gone through life through experiences. I have gone through life searching for happiness. And I created my own happiness, and not something that I am happy and I'm sad, because I am consistently happy. And I have found why I'm happy. So in my book, one day this is one small thing about the book I'm saying. So I was not able to write, and my friend and my coach told me that please write and focus. So I asked my coach, what is focus? So she said, focus is put your thoughts. So I said, but what is that? She said, you can't do focus. I said, no. He said, then do meditation. I said, how much time it takes me to learn the meditation? She said, 2 years. So I said, 2 years, and then I have to focus. What is the guarantee I'll be able to focus? She said, I don't know. So 2 years, I have to learn how to do meditation. Then also, I'm not sure I'm able to focus. And then I took out certain memoirs of top people and tried to find the definition of focus, and nothing was mentioned. And while washing dishes, I understood what focus is. Focus is a consciousness of our own weakness. Once we're conscious of our own weakness, then we are focused on our strengths. That's it. It's as simple as that. And A Bridge Not Too Far, that's my book, defines each aspect of real life in a way of story to the world and how to attain happiness. So, and the book is not theoretical, the book is going through experiences. Of course, it is my story, because when you put all this management principle, to make it interesting, you have to weave into a story. So there are 26 principles that are being used to write this story of real life experiential learning. So this is what I have to speak, and I think I have not been able, I think I did quite well. So I will open for questions and answer right now. Then we have time, but this is the whole focus, my thought process of experiential learning is.
So I'll start with the questions. So we have a number one question would be the following. Deepak, what do you think? How about experiential learning? How experiential learning can help students brand themselves, and how they should correlate that? And why you think it's important for students and faculty to really go through that training and put a little bit industry closer to academics?
A very good question, Dr. Anna. So I will reply this question with a real life situation. When we were doing the luxury incubator course, and most of the students had gone to see the Pacific Ocean in Corona del Mar, I was talking to 2 or 3 students, and there was a lady sitting next to me. She said, my 3-year-old didn't eat this bread. Normally she eats. She was listening to you. And we were talking about emotional expression. And she said she has never stopped eating, but she was listening. And then when I introduced Dr. Anna to that lady was in tears, because we were talking about the real life experiences. So when a real life experience can do this to a 3-year-old and to a mother, and we saw what it did to the 18 students, what it does is experiential learning is, if it is done properly and if it is done in a very strategic and in a very honest manner, it brings everything out from every student, and they're able to see who they are and what are their capabilities and how they can achieve. Experiential learning also tell people that at what scale they are, in scale of say 1 to 10, and they know that this is the distance they have to cover. And when they know this is the distance they have to cover, life is not 1 year or 2 years, life is long. And you never know, because if you look at what I was in my classroom, I was far behind. Now you look today where I am, I think I'm pretty ahead. So life is a journey, and each student has to take that journey, but they already know through experiential learning that which path they have to take. So this experiential learning also becomes a GPS for them. It tells them where they are and where they have to go and which path they have to choose.
Thank you very much. We have one more question. Actually, this question is coming from Charles, who happened to be on the Luxury Incubator program with us in New York and Los Angeles. So the question is the following. What future experiential learning opportunities will be afforded to MBA students in regards to entrepreneurship? And I'm going to respond to the first part of that question. And of course, Deepak, I would like you to continue as that. Deepak and I, we are working on several programs that are going to be offered through the PINO Global Entrepreneurship Center. We're looking into executive education, 3 particular courses, and also on a masterclass that's going to be offered to the students, the way that they can participate and learn more. Deepak, would you like to comment more on that?
Yeah, so this is what we have discussed, Dr. Anna. So we are taking 3 courses plus a luxury masterclass for next year, that is 2023, at the PINO Entrepreneurship Center. And Charles, to answer your question, life changes very rapidly. Technology is changing. Year and a half back, the world didn't know about metaverse. The world didn't know about other things. We don't know 2 years down the line what is going to happen. So our courses are going to be very dynamic. Our courses are going to take the real life situations and put it in the right perspective. And I've written 26 principles, but I think there's one class that I want to take in 2024 at the PINO Entrepreneurship Center, and that is the happiness class.
Deepak, could you elaborate a little bit more about the happiness and the correlation and experiential learning with happiness? What do you believe that would be the next step, and why you believe that happiness is so important right now? We know you have a new role at LeBua, which is actually the Chief Happiness Officer. That's a brand new, opportunity out there for many CEOs and many leaders to follow. If you could elaborate a little bit about that, please.
So most of the organization, the Chief Happiness Officer position is normally given to HR. I'll urge all the organizations that give it to HR, but at least for first 2 years, it should be taken by the leader of the organization, because happiness has to come from the top. And happiness is something which can never be delegated. Okay, so happiness has to come from the top. So that's why I've taken for at least 2 years, because I want to see how it goes. So now happiness is, when we do the employee surveys, I'm not very happy with the employee satisfaction surveys. And this happiness, we want to go to employee's family to understand how the employee looks at the employee working, and what is the level of respect and happiness they have. Bhutan as a country started the Gross Happiness Index. So we are starting at the employee family happiness index, because if the family is happy, the person is very proud. And when the person is proud, he can achieve and do anything to keep that pride for himself. So what is happiness? Happiness comes from pain. And more than pain, it comes from the reality. And if we are able to express our real self, at least to ourselves, not to the world, and create a bridge, that path of expressing ourselves will take us to the happiness. So it is a reality, then a bridge, and then that is a happiness. And in that reality, every person has got only one thing in itself. And we have to define what is that one thing that is important for us, and what have we done in all our life to keep that one thing alive. And that is what is going to give us happiness. Happiness is going, today we're talking about metaverse, but I'm telling you there are 2 things, mark my word today, there are 2 things which is going to be the next big things: luxury and happiness. Now, the definition of luxury is also not very well defined. And that's why there are too many brands that are coming up. And that's why one brand goes up, one brand comes down, and very soon luxury will be very well defined. There was a time we were talking about luxury as a space. Suddenly there's a time we're talking luxury about silence. There will be a time that luxury and happiness will be together. Happiness will become the biggest luxury in the world. The most expensive real estate in the world would be happiness.
If I may add one thing, which I think needs to be addressed, Deepak, is that I mean, when we look at experiential learning, we are basically trying to think for our students' success, their future, and so on and so forth. And yet, when I look at professors or faculty members, experiential learning for them is equally important. And let me just build upon that. In this profession, in the academic world, we have something called sabbatical. And people get sabbatical to write books or start a research paper, a project. For one semester, they can go abroad and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking that why don't we challenge the conventional wisdom? And by challenging the conventional wisdom, the sabbatical can also be spent in an organization, in a company, in a firm, in an industry, whereby the professor, it could be in the hospitality industry, it could be financial services, it could be in the software, it could be anything, whereby they learn a lot in terms of the practices and best practices in that organization, so that they can take that knowledge and bring back and share that knowledge with their colleagues, with their peers, with their students. As it turns out that we have not gone that path. And so I'm questioning the very essence of sabbatical, which is basically trying to pursue your creativity in terms of scholarship by learning or by contributing or building something new. But at the same time, I feel that in a business school setting where the knowledge is so applied, this is a professional or trade school at the end of the day. So if we can bring that, the professors or the faculty to the industry, to the company, I think, they would be learning a lot and they will be able to change the way they do things. Oftentimes, we live in an ivory tower world. Academics live in an ivory tower world. And we don't understand what is happening in the outside world. There is a huge distance, huge gap between the real world, the world of the practitioners, and the world of the academics. And here the question becomes a very fundamental question. How do you create that bridge? How do you we talk about industry academic partnership. Yes, we need that. But can we create a forum, a place, a space whereby the faculty members are allowed to go to the industry for one semester and learn something new?
I think it's a very good idea, but then the question here, Dr. Kundu, is which industry? Because not every industry is going to give you the right examples, and not every industry leader at the top is going to spend that kind of time and give that experiential learning. So here comes the most important word, that is the essence of the marketing, the art of choosing the organization or art of choosing the outside faculty for experiential learning. But like I mentioned before, Jillian, yourself, and Anna, I think you're far ahead in your game in terms of experiential learning, not trying to flatter. With what you mentioned to me that you're doing in September and bringing professors, not students, into a different country to immerse in that culture, understand the social attitude and attribute, I think that is a great and a giant step in the right direction. The second point is from there to see who else can you bring back to USA to train other people in terms of experiential learning. Because the most difficult part and why the experiential learning is taking a lot of time is because we have a lot of business schools, but we have very few leaders who are ready to share their real lifetime experiences and create that bridge. So how you choose those people? And how do they spend their time? How much of them are ready to spend that kind of time with the faculty, with the students, and give that real lifetime experiences? Because I've seen, forgive my saying, many of these leaders, they want to be part of the faculty just to write on their card or on their resume that they are part of the faculty. But when it comes about sharing, taking that passion and telling them the real lifetime situations. So I think what we need to do is the way to define, see, we have 62% people who have not traveled the world. So why don't we first reduce that part? Then we have 37% people who are not on internet. We have to increase that part, that there are more people on internet. How do we do that? I think we as leaders in experiential learning and part of Cyber and Entrepreneurship Center can identify 8 to 10 destinations in the world and talk about it with the academic point of view, where they can go and look at the culture and at least, if not 80% learning, they come back with 20% learning. Any learning from 0 to 20 is a step in the right direction. Now, which would be the countries we can choose? Means I don't want to say here, but 2 countries are in front of me. For happiness is Bhutan, the Global Happiness Index, Thailand for culture, and we choose few countries, and Antarctica for diversity and everything for sea. So we have 3 places for people to see. If we add 7 places and tell that this is where the global leaders should go, we are bringing in some change. At least on Wikipedia, it won't be zoo. When it comes to creating experiential learning, there'll be name of 10 countries.
So building upon that, Deepak, I was thinking and reflecting upon that there are institutions in the United States which have allowed faculty to work in companies, and I'll give you a concrete example here. There is a gentleman at Dartmouth College. His name is Professor Vijay Govindrajan. And Vijay Govindrajan was basically spent time at General Electric. And he works with General Electric, right from the days of Jack Welch, and thereafter. And he was one of the first one to introduce the concept of reverse innovation. This is very interesting, so I'm thinking, well, I mean, there's a lot of human talent in FI, or for that matter, in any university. And they can, if they are allowed to work in a particular organization, they can add value to the organization as well as create something new for the institutional learning. And you asked me a question of which industry, so suddenly if somebody is passionate about hospitality industry and is working for the chaplain in the School of Hospital Management, clearly your organization would be perfect fit. There's a synergistic relationship between what you all do and the chaplain school. So I'm thinking, well, in that context, really, I'm somebody who's passionate about real estate. I can work for a real estate organization. But that element has not been there. And that is the reason why some students are, when they express the frustration that it is all about textbook knowledge. And that is important because we have to change the way we are imparting that knowledge or disseminating knowledge. So, for example, oftentimes, since we don't have an experience, we try to rely upon guest speakers. And guest speakers come and they talk about Carnival Cruise Line or Disney World in terms of the internationalization practices and challenges and so on and so forth. So it is very much what I consider as a stopgap, a temporary measure. Rather, if the faculty spends 4 months in Disney World, Carnival Cruise Line, the knowledge she or he would garner or gather and bring that to the classroom would be tremendous. So the experiential learning concept which we are talking about in today's discussion, it is not just about one dimension. There are different dimensions. It's a multi-dimensional concept. And here, faculty members are important stakeholders. At the end of the day, student success depends upon the faculty's success. The faculty is allowed to learn then they can basically deliver a better product. At the end of the day, we are in the business of intangibles. Now,
I
education is
agree.
what?
I
Education
agree
is
with you,
about
Dr.
providing a high quality service, knowledge, education. So if you are able to access, institutions, organizations where people can learn, suddenly it is a win-win situation. This is a no-brainer. So I think, this is a good beginning, Deepak, in terms of the way you are sharing your knowledge and expertise. I wish organizations and institutions of higher learning reconsider their basic premise, the basic model that, when somebody is allowed to take sabbatical, they should be allowed to pursue other things too.
Sure, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. An idea that needs to be explored.
Correct.
I'm open to take one faculty for 4 years.
I would like to add to this, Dr. Kundu. Absolutely, it's very true what you're saying, but I have to say it really depends on the faculty as well. I was able, to connect with Deepak and work with him, even though the main role of Deepak is in hospitality, but we work on the marketing and management and leadership. We were able to create the Luxury Incubator program and deliver experiential learning for FIU students, which was absolutely extremely successful. So hello to the ones that are watching. I know some of you are here, so great that you were able to join us for this webinar. I think what is really important is it goes both ways. Yes, it's very hard to find someone like Deepak that's willing to work with us. But at the other side, it really depends on the faculty as well that are willing to really to do that. It's a lot of work. It's very hard. I work with Deepak. I also work with Real Madrid. Spent some time with them not long ago, and it's a different world out there. I mean, industry, it's a hard work. It's 24/7. There's no break. Faculty, we are, kind of we work on our own schedule, as you know. We kind of design our weekends. That doesn't work like that in the industry. So there has to be commitment. There has to be a very, very strong commitment on the part of faculty to be able to join.
Here I will agree with Dr. Kundu. So any professor who wants to go, he knows why he's going and he's signing for it. So at least it's one step in the right direction. Even if 100 professors have gone, and each professor is teaching a class of say 30. So we have got 3,000 students who have a great experience in experiential learning. So it is one way of increasing the number of students who are learning. So I think every view to expand the horizon in terms of experiential learning should always be welcome. And maybe Department of Education should open more cyber centers, or maybe cyber centers, Dr. Kundu, you and Jillian should sign up with the different governments and ask the professors to come to US and do the executive education, because it is a great step forward.
It is a fantastic step forward. And also, I think it's really important for the faculty to learn how to teach the students what they were able to learn with the industry. So definitely something to look forward.
One thing which Deepak just now, a little while ago alluded to was the mindset, the global mindset. And of course, it is correlated with diversity. It is very interesting that FIU is very uniquely positioned being in Miami. It is a very, cosmopolitan, very culturally diverse city. So the question then becomes is that, yes, we have a very diverse student body. And at the faculty, how can we basically help them to develop a global mindset? And what, Deepak and Anna, or what you are all suggesting, you should take a team of professors from the United States to another location. That is the way to go. Because even if it's a 7 days or 10 days or whatever duration, those people get exposed to different culture. And of course, Deepak talked about globalization at large. So I think, this is something, when you talk about experiential learning and the way I'm looking at it is that, how can we help professors and faculty members to basically enrich the experience? Because they are the intermediary. they are the ones who are going to make a difference to a student body. So
It has to be both ways. We help the students and professor both. Let student
Right.
ask difficult questions and professor will try to learn also. And professor asks difficult questions and students will try to learn.
Right. So here our attempt, so cyber. So let me speak a little bit about cyber now. I mean, over the years, the Center for International Business Research, which is the US Department of Education grant, we launched, for example, the FDIB India program in 2008. And many ways, it was experiential learning because you are going there for 10 days and you are getting to see India from the economic side, the political side, the business side, the cultural side, societal side. So it's a very, very nice way of exposing those 12 to 15 faculty members traveling to India for those 8, 10, 12 days. And that is something which we'd like to further increase, expand. So what I'm hearing today is that when Anna and yourself are talking about having a program in Thailand for professors, yes, certainly I agree, because that is a very nice way to expose people. I mean, let alone Thailand is a great country, culture, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, to get these people out of the comfort zone. Get this people out of the comfort zone and let them go and experience that, because that is the real learning. Because I mean, oftentimes we have been told, "Oh, professor, this is all textbook knowledge." No, and that really hits very hard. I mean, yes, suddenly, we know what the textbook says, but can we add something more valuable?
Yeah. So you know why I added Thailand and why I added Bhutan, of course, Antarctica. If we look at US education system today, there are a lot of students from Asia that comes into US. But the culture in Asia tells them to keep quiet in the class. And the class in the US, the professors always like the students who is asking too many questions. So it becomes an interactive class. And the students from Asia, because of their culture, they are told not to speak unless and until it is necessary. They are termed as people who are not good. So when these professors goes to these parts of the world and understand that cultural thing, that is hugely going to change. Forget experiential learning, the present education system.
Sure.
Because today, when a professor is talking, say, what do you think? 3 students are keeping quiet. So the professor has already made up the point. Oh, this one is a B minus. Not answering my question, not doing anything, whatever it is. Okay, he may be very good in writing and reading from the book and asking all the questions, but in the class, this person is not interactive. Nobody has ever thought about the cultural. Nobody has thought that actually that student is giving respect to the professor, because that is part of the culture and that is what that student has been taught to be grown up. So forget experiential learning. This is also the basic element. So before the professors go into the organizations, professor has to identify 10 countries in the world which are culturally very different and very important to US education system.
I agree, Deepak. And that is the element of cultural sensitivity. We need to sensitize some of the professors, who have not traveled in abroad, and their whole life they've lived in a particular location. So it is important for them to travel, and whenever center or cyber, they jointly design some programs with the help of not only helping students but also helping professors too, because the cultural sensitivity issue is not there. And of course, I mean, it is important that in this day and age of globalization, we don't have a choice. We have to embrace, and the fear of the unknown has to be put aside. Of course, the moment you live in the United States of America and go to Asia or Africa, Middle East, it's a new territory. And of course, there's some anxiety, but of course, you have to embrace that. And the more you do, the better off you are.
See, in 1990, I attended the one of the Ivy League seminars. So I was with a friend. So I was asking my friend, shall I ask a question? He said, don't make a fool of yourself. Keep quiet. So after that session is over, the professor came and said, you two are very quiet. Did you get what I was talking? So you see the difference that asking question for Asian student is a very big thing. And there has been an article recently also about the same thing. I think at the Harvard Business Review. One can go through that in detail. And then the other thing is that extraordinary is not enough for getting into the top schools is an article in Wall Street Journal. So it's not that this is already out in the public space. These are the issues that at Cyber and at Pino Center we have to deal with and create a very short-term executive education courses so that we are able to fill that gap that is very evident right now, at the same time planning for the future.
I mean, these are excellent points, Deepak, and of course, it's the beginning of a new journey for the two centers,
Yeah.
and I see, in the days ahead, weeks ahead, months ahead, a lot of good things are going to come out of this, This is just the beginning. It's the beginning of a very relevant, meaningful, and a fruitful discussion which we're having today.
Thank you. I like your idea. For 4 years, I can take any professor you recommend.
So thank you, Deepak,
Thank you.
For your passion, for your insights. It is a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you, Dr. Kundu. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you taking the time out on your holidays and do this. I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much.
I would like to add something, Dr. Kundu and Deepak and Julian, that actually we are 4 panelists from 4 different countries in 3 different, 4 different nationalities in 3 different countries sitting right now. So I think we are a step ahead of many of those international issues. And as the last question, I would like to ask you, Deepak, about your book. And the title of your book is A Bridge Not Too Far, Where Creativity Meets Innovation. So can you define for us what is creativity and what is innovation for you?
Okay, innovation is any improvisation, a disruption which customers are looking for. So there are 2 kinds of things. The customers look for 2 things in life. One is commitment, another is impact. Commitment is something which is a blip, short time. And impact is something that stays forever with the customer and you never lose the customer. To give you that example, and this is how the book has defined it, but I'll give you an example in US context. When President Obama was the senator, he gave a very touching speech on diversity. And his best friend, the Republican friend, it is in his book also, and it is in the HBO Max series also, went to him and he says, Barack, to President Obama, this is how it has been said in the HBO Max, you gave an excellent speech and you won a lot of hearts. But sadly, you didn't win a single vote. So there was a commitment, but there was hardly any impact. In this book, through the creativity, how to stay away from commitment and create impact is very well defined. It is also very well defined in this book that what are the obvious pitfalls where you can fall and you get into the commitment. Because commitment always comes with a huge applause. Like you put a Facebook photograph, 70 likes. And you want to sell your book to those 70 people, not even one sold. So there's a commitment and there's an impact. You understand? So this book tells you how to avoid commitment and how to go for an impact and what are the possible mistakes everyone will do and what are the possible mistakes with this trait of people they will do. But everything defined through a story.
Well, thank you so much. We're so looking forward to be able to read the book. And I would like to definitely thank Dr. Kundu and Jillian on behalf of the Pino Global Entrepreneurship Center for giving us an opportunity to be here. I know that we share Deepak is part of the Cyber as well as an advisory member, but definitely that's our first common project. And I'm sure we're going to have many, many ahead. And we talk more about the innovation, creativity, globalization, entrepreneurship. So thank you very much. And thank everybody in the audience as well. A big thank you to the students from Luxury Incubator. I have to say hi to them because we had some amazing time together in the experiential learning program. And Deepak, of course, thank you. Thank you for your time. We know it's very, very late in Thailand. So I want to thank you for your time and commitment and the impact that you create on a FIU community. So
thank you. I would
and,
like to say this. Thanks to you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, Dr. Kundu. And thank you, Dr. Jillian, for giving me this opportunity, the chance of my lifetime, and be able to create an impact and giving me that chance. That is more important. And I want to say thanks to the students who are listening, who are from the Luxury Incubator, and to everybody else. So thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. And I also wanted to add quickly that I will be sending the recording of this session to everyone who's registered. So please look out for that. And thank you once again to Mr. Deepak Bori, Dr. Anna Pietrazik, and Dr. Sumit Kundu. It's been a pleasure. And we hope that everyone will tune in to our future webinars, which we will share with you as well. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Get some rest. Dr. Kundu and Deepak, have a great day.
Thank you. You have a great day. And Dr. Kundu, good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
good night, Dr. Kundu. Bye, Jillian.
Good night, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.